Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Terran Defense Coalition battleship Indomitable Spirit, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship had been patrolling the outer rim for 3 months now, and nothing interesting had happened. Lee preferred it that way. Boring meant peaceful, and peaceful meant his crew stayed alive. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Lieutenant Commander Park Sora sat at her communication station, monitoring the usual space chatter. Chief Engineer Kim Tae-wan was somewhere in the engine room, probably tinkering with the FTL drive again. Dr. Yoon Mi-kyung was in the medical bay, running her daily health checks on the crew. Lee had been in space for 20 years. He had fought pirates, dealt with asteroid miners, and stopped smugglers, but he had never seen anything like what was about to happen. "Captain," Park Sora called out suddenly, "I'm picking up something strange." Lee walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a transmission, but not from any human ship. The frequency is all wrong, and the signal pattern doesn't match anything in our database." Park Sora frowned at her screen. "Sir, I think this might be alien." Lee felt his heart skip a beat. In all of human history, they had never found proof of alien life. There had been theories and hopes, but no real contact. "Are you sure?" "I'm running it through every decoder we have. The signal is weak and breaking up, but there's definitely a pattern. It's not natural background noise." Park Sora's fingers flew over her controls. "Captain, this is coming from the Kepler 442 system. That's only 2 light-years from here. Can you clean up the signal?" Lee asked. "I'm trying, but it's going to take time. Whatever sent this is either very far away or using very little power." Park Sora looked up at him. "Sir, if this really is alien contact, shouldn't we report it to Earth Command?" Lee thought about that. Earth Command was 6 months away by fastest messenger ship. By the time they got orders back, whatever was happening would be long over. "Keep working on it. I want to know what that message says." For the next 4 hours, Park Sora worked to decode the signal. She tried every language pattern, every mathematical sequence, every communication protocol humanity had ever used. Finally, something clicked. "Captain," she called out excitedly, "I think I've got something. The signal is using basic mathematical concepts to build a language framework. It's actually quite clever." Lee hurried back to her station. "What does it say?" Park Sora's face went pale as she read the translation. "It's a distress call, sir. Someone calling themselves the Nefri. They say their ship has been captured by something called the Vrak Dominion. They're asking for help." "How long ago was this sent?" "Based on the signal decay, maybe 12 hours. "Captain, there are life forms out there and they're in trouble." Lee stared at the translated message on Park Sora's screen. This was it. First contact with alien life, and it was a cry for help. He could follow protocol, send word to Earth Command, and wait months for orders. But by then, whoever sent this message would probably be dead. "What else can you tell me about this Nefri ship?" Lee asked. Park Sora worked frantically at her station. "The signal includes some basic information about their vessel. It's called the Gentle Current. They describe themselves as traders carrying food supplies between colonies. Sir, they sound completely peaceful. And these Vrak? The message doesn't say much, just that they're raiders who attack trading ships. The Nefri seem terrified of them." Lee made his decision. "Set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed, sir?" Park Sora looked surprised. "Shouldn't we contact Earth Command first? By the time we get orders from Earth, these Nefri will be dead. If we're humanity's first contact with alien life, I want it to show what we stand for." Lee turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations. We're going to help some neighbors." The Indomitable Spirit and its 2 escort ships jumped to faster than light speed. During the 6-hour journey, Dr. Yoon Mi-kyung studied the biological data included in the Nefri transmission. "Captain," she reported, "these beings are fascinating. They appear to be herbivorous with very delicate bone structures. Their homeworld has about half Earth's gravity. Honestly, they seem incredibly fragile by our standards." "Fragile how?" Lee asked. "Their bones are hollow like birds. Their muscle density is much lower than ours. I don't think they could survive Earth's gravity for very long." Dr. Yoon looked worried. "Sir, if these Vrak are raiders, the Nefri probably can't fight back at all." Chief Engineer Kim Tae-wan joined them on the bridge. "I've been analyzing the technical data in their message. Their ships use a completely different FTL system than ours. It's actually quite elegant, but it seems designed for efficiency rather than speed. These aren't warships. When they arrived at the Kepler 442 system, The main screen showed them exactly what they feared. 3 large dark ships surrounded a smaller, more elegant vessel. The Nefri ship looked like it was built for beauty and comfort. The Vrak ships looked like they were built for war. "I'm detecting multiple hull breaches on the Nefri vessel," Kim Tae-wan reported, "but life support is still functioning in most sections." Park Sora's station lit up with incoming signals. "Captain, the Vrak ships are hailing us. They're demanding we leave immediately or be destroyed." Lee looked at the alien raiders on his screen. They were reptilian creatures with thick armored skin and sharp teeth. Everything about them suggested violence and aggression. "Open a channel to the Nefri ship," Lee ordered. A new face appeared on the screen. The Nefri looked nothing like the Vrak. They had large, gentle eyes and soft features. The alien's face was filled with desperate hope. "Unknown vessel," the Nefri said in broken but understandable English. "I am Captain Veltar of the Gentle Current. Are you here to help us?" "We received your distress call," Lee replied. "We're here to get you out of this." Veltar's eyes widened in surprise. "You learned our language from one transmission? Remarkable. But please, you must flee. The Vrak are too powerful. They have already taken most of my crew. I fear we are lost." "No one is lost while we're here," Lee said firmly. "How many of your people are still aboard your ship?" 43 of my crew remain alive. But the Vrak have weapons we cannot fight. Their ships are much stronger than ours." Lee studied the Vrak vessels on his tactical display. They were big and heavily armed, but their technology looked crude compared to human engineering. The Vrak had probably never faced an opponent who could fight back. "Captain Veltar," Lee said, "I want you to move all your people to the most protected areas of your ship. We're coming to get you." The Nefri captain looked confused. "Coming to get us, but how? The Vrak will not simply let you take us." Lee smiled grimly. "Captain, you just made first contact with humanity. We're from a world called Earth, and we have a saying, no one gets left behind." The Vrak commander's angry face filled the screen again. "Unknown ships. You will leave now or face destruction." Lee looked at the snarling alien and felt something cold settle in his chest. These creatures had been terrorizing peaceful traders probably for years. Today that ended. "This is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the Terran Defense Coalition," he said calmly. "You will release your prisoners and withdraw immediately." The Vrak commander laughed. "Or what, tiny ship? Or you'll learn why Earth is called a death world." The Vrak commander stopped laughing. His reptilian face twisted into a snarl as he stared at Lee through the communication screen. "Death world? What foolishness is this?" Lee kept his voice calm and steady. "You have 10 minutes to release your prisoners and withdraw. This is your only warning. You dare threaten me?" The Vrak leader's voice grew louder. "I am Warlord Scathmore of the Vrak Dominion. I have conquered 100 ships. Your tiny vessels are no match for my fleet." The communication ended abruptly. Lee turned to his crew. "What do we know about their capabilities?" Chief Engineer Kim Tae-wan studied his readings. "Their ships are big, but their power systems are inefficient. Their weapons look dangerous, but they're using old plasma technology. Our shields should hold." "How old?" Lee asked. "Maybe 50 years behind our current systems. Sir, it's like they never had to improve because they never faced real opposition." Commander Bae Jinwoo's voice came through from the escort destroyer Soul's Fury. "Captain Lee, my tactical officer says the Vrak formation is sloppy. They're not expecting a fight." Park Sora was still monitoring communications. "Captain, I'm picking up more transmissions from the Nefri ship. They're talking about how no one has ever rescued them before. They don't understand what we're planning to do." Dr. Yoon Mi-kyung joined them on the bridge carrying her medical scanner. "Sir, I've been studying the biological data more carefully. The Nefri aren't just peaceful by choice. Their bodies literally cannot handle combat stress. Their cardiovascular systems would fail under the kind of pressure we experience in battle." "What about the Vrak?" Lee asked. "Predators, but not very advanced ones. Think of them like crocodiles that learn to use tools. They're used to hunting prey that can't fight back." Dr. Yoon looked at the screen showing the Vrak ships. "Captain, I don't think they've ever faced anyone who would actually resist." Master Sergeant Oh Hyun-sik entered the bridge in full combat armor. Behind him came a squad of Terran Marines all armed and ready. "Sir, my boarding teams are prepared. Just point us at the bad guys." Lee studied the tactical display. The Vrak had made a classic mistake. They had surrounded the Nefri ship in a pattern that protected them from the victim's weapons, but left them vulnerable to attack from outside. They weren't thinking about rescue operations because they had probably never seen one. "Sergeant O," Lee said, I want clean boarding actions. Disable their weapons and free the prisoners, but avoid killing unless absolutely necessary. This is first contact. I want the galaxy to know that humans protect the innocent. Understood, sir. My teams know the mission. Park Sora suddenly looked up from her station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the Nefri ship. Captain Veltar wants to speak with you. The gentle alien's face appeared on screen again. Veltar looked confused and frightened. Captain Lee, my sensors show that your ships are very small compared to the Vrak vessels. Please, you must not sacrifice yourselves for us. We are grateful for your kindness, but the Vrak cannot be defeated. Captain Veltar, Lee said patiently. Have your people ever been in a war? War. Veltar looked puzzled. What is war? Lee realized that he was dealing with a species that had no concept of organized violence. Fighting. Armed conflict between groups. Oh, Veltar's eyes grew wide. No, we have never experienced such things. The Nefri are peaceful traders. We negotiate and share resources. Violence it is not something we understand. What about the Vrak? Don't they fight other species? The Vrak take what they want from those who cannot resist, but no one has ever fought them successfully. They are too strong, too violent. We simply endure and hope they will leave us alone eventually. Lee felt anger building in his chest. For who knows how long. These raiders had been terrorizing peaceful aliens who couldn't defend themselves. Captain Veltar, today that changes. Keep your people safe. We're coming to get you. The 10 minutes were up. Lee opened a channel to all 3 Vrak ships. Warlord Scathmore, you have failed to comply with our demands. We are now taking action to free the prisoners. Scathmore's ugly face filled the screen. You foolish creatures. You know nothing of power. Attack them. Show these weaklings the might of the Vrak. The 3 Vrak ships turned toward the human fleet and opened fire. Their plasma weapons were indeed powerful, but they moved slowly and were easy to track. The indomitable spirit dodged most of the incoming fire, while its shields absorbed the rest. Return fire, Lee ordered. Target their weapon systems first. The human ship's weapons were faster, more accurate, and much more advanced than anything the Vrak had faced. Within minutes, 2 of the Vrak ships had lost their primary guns. The third was trying to retreat but found its engines disabled. Boarding shuttles away, Sergeant O reported. We're going in. Lee watched on his tactical display as the Marine shuttles approached the Vrak ships. The raiders tried to shoot down the small craft, but the shuttles were too fast and too well armored. Sir, Kim Tae-won called out, I'm detecting something interesting. The Vrak ships have dozens of different technology types aboard. It looks like they've been stealing equipment from many different species. They're not builders, Lee realized. They're scavengers. They take what others create. The first Marine team reached the largest Vrak ship. Sergeant O's voice came through the communication system. Breaching now. Resistance is lighter than expected. These guys don't know how to fight disciplined troops. Park So-ra was monitoring multiple channels. Captain, the Nefri on their ship are reporting that some Vrak guards are abandoning their posts. They're confused by our tactics. Dr. Yoon checked her medical scanners. The Vrak stress levels are spiking. They're not used to their victims fighting back. This is probably the first time they've faced organized resistance. On the screen, Lee could see the Marine boarding actions progressing rapidly. The Vrak were individually tough, but they had no team coordination. They fought like animals, not soldiers. Against trained human Marines, they were completely outmatched. First group of Nefri prisoners secured, Sergeant O reported. Captain, these aliens are in bad shape. They're terrified and injured, but they're alive. The Vrak have been treating them like cargo. Get them to safety, Lee ordered. How many more? 23 on this ship. Moving to secure the rest now. The second boarding team hit the middle Vrak ship. Within 30 minutes, all 3 raider vessels were under human control. The Vrak who survived were secured in their own cargo holds, while the freed Nefri were being treated by Dr. Yoon's medical teams. Captain Veltar's face appeared on screen again, but this time he looked amazed rather than afraid. Captain Lee, I do not understand what has happened. How did you defeat the Vrak so easily? They seem so powerful. Captain Veltar, Lee said, the Vrak are bullies. They pick on people who can't fight back. But they've never faced anyone from a world like Earth. Earth must be a terrible place to create such warriors, Veltar said quietly. Lee thought about that. Earth is dangerous, yes. We have predators, natural disasters, diseases, and conflicts that have shaped us for millions of years. But we also learned something important. The strong should protect the weak. Veltar's eyes filled with something that looked like tears. In all our history, no one has ever come to rescue us. We thought this was how the galaxy worked. The strong take from the weak and the weak endure. Not anymore, Lee said firmly. Today you learned that humans exist. And humans don't abandon people who need help. Dr. Yoon's voice came through the communication system. Captain, all the Nefri prisoners have been freed and are receiving medical treatment. They're weak and frightened, but they'll recover. Sergeant O reported from the captured Vrak ships. Sir, we've secured all enemy vessels. The Vrak are demanding to know where we learned to fight. They keep asking what kind of death world could produce warriors like us. Lee looked at the tactical display showing the disabled Vrak fleet and the rescued Nefri ship. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and it had started with a rescue mission. He hoped that would set the right tone for everything that came after. Signal the gentle current, Lee ordered. Tell Captain Veltar that his ship is free to go, but also tell him that if he wants to talk more about this galaxy and how to make it safer for peaceful people, we'd be honored to continue the conversation. Captain Veltar accepted Lee's invitation immediately. Within hours, the Nefri captain was aboard the Indomitable Spirit, accompanied by a young engineer named Kellan. Lee had never seen aliens before, and he was struck by how delicate they appeared. Veltar stood nearly 7 feet tall but looked like a strong wind might knock him over. Your ship is remarkable, Veltar said as Lee gave him a tour of the bridge. I have never seen such efficient design. Every system seems built for both power and precision. Our ships have to be tough, Lee explained. Space is dangerous, and Earth has taught us to prepare for the worst. Young Kellan was fascinated by the human technology. The Nefri engineer kept asking questions about their weapons, shields, and engines. How do you generate such power from such a small reactor? He asked Kim Tae-won. Fusion efficiency, Kim replied. We've had to make our technology as compact as possible because our homeworld has limited resources. Every component has to work harder. Dr. Yoon was running medical scans on both Nefri visitors. Captain Veltar, I hope you don't mind, but I'm very curious about your biology. This is the first time humans have met another intelligent species. Of course, Veltar said. We are honored to be studied by beings capable of such remarkable rescue operations. As Dr. Yoon worked, she explained what she was learning. The Nefri evolved on a world with very little danger. No large predators, stable climate, abundant food. Their bodies are optimized for efficiency and intelligence, not survival under stress. What about the Vrak? Lee asked. The opposite, Dr. Yoon said, checking her readings from the captured raiders. They evolved as apex predators, but on a world with limited resources. They learned to take what they needed by force, but they never developed advanced technology because they could always just steal it from others. Veltar looked sad. The Vrak have been raiding peaceful ships for as long as anyone can remember. We simply accepted it as part of life. Some species pay tribute to avoid being attacked. Others hide in remote systems. But no one has ever fought them successfully. Why not? Lee asked. Because fighting requires accepting that people will be hurt or killed, Veltar explained. Our cultures cannot tolerate that level of violence. We would rather lose our cargo than lose our people. Private First Class Han Min-jun brought food to the alien guests. The young Marine was curious about the Nefri and started a conversation with Kellan. Do you really not have any weapons on your ships? He asked. Why would we need weapons? Kellan replied. We trade with other peaceful species. Everyone benefits from cooperation. But what if someone attacks you? Before today we would surrender and hope they would not hurt us too badly. Kellan looked at Han with genuine confusion. Is your world really so dangerous that everyone must learn to fight? Han shared some of his field rations with the young alien. Pretty much. We have wars, crime, wild animals, natural disasters, but we also have people who protect others, like soldiers, police, firefighters, doctors. You have specialists in protection? Kellan seemed amazed by this concept. On our world, everyone simply avoids danger. Someone has to be willing to face danger to protect those who can't, Han explained. That's what makes a society strong. Meanwhile, Captain Lee was learning more about galactic civilization from Veltar. The Nefri captain explained that there were dozens of peaceful species spread across this part of the galaxy. They traded resources, shared knowledge, and resolved conflicts through careful negotiation. The system works well, Veltar said, except for the raiders. The Vrak are not the only ones. There are perhaps 20 different raider clans that prey upon peaceful traders. 20? Lee felt his anger rising again. How many peaceful species are there? In our local trade network, perhaps 40 different civilizations. Most are similar to the Nefri. Some are aquatic, some are silicon-based, some are energy beings, but all are peaceful by nature. Lee did the math in his head. 20 raider clans terrorizing 40 peaceful civilizations and no one able to fight back. Captain Veltar, would these peaceful species be interested in protection? What do you mean? What if someone patrolled the trade routes, responded to distress calls, made it too dangerous for raiders to attack peaceful ships? Veltar's eyes widened. You would do such a thing? But why? What would humans gain? We'd gain the knowledge that peaceful people can travel safely, Lee said. That's what we call justice. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Captain, Park Sora reported, we're receiving multiple distress signals. It looks like other raider clans are attacking ships throughout this sector. Lee and Veltar hurried to the bridge. The tactical display showed 6 different emergency transmissions from various species. All were reporting attacks by different raider groups. They're coordinating, Lee realized. The word has spread that someone defeated a Vrak fleet. The other raiders are trying to grab what they can before we can stop them. Veltar looked at the display in horror. So many ships under attack. This is the worst raiding wave in decades, and it is our fault for asking for your help. No, Lee said firmly. It's their fault for choosing to be predators. He turned to his crew. Can we help any of these ships? Kim Tae-won checked the distances. 3 of them are within range if we push our engines. The others are too far away. Set course for the nearest one, Lee ordered, and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need more ships out here. Commander Bei Jinwoo's voice came from the Soul's Fury. Captain, my crew is ready. Which raiders do we hit first? As the human fleet prepared to jump to the next rescue, Kellan approached Private Han. You are leaving to fight more raiders? Even though they might hurt you? That's the job, Han said simply. People are calling for help. We go help them. But there are so many raider clans. You cannot save everyone. Han smiled at the young alien. Maybe not all at once. But each ship we save is a victory. Each raider clan we stop makes the galaxy a little safer. Kellan watched as the Marines prepared their equipment. Your people are very strange. You risk your lives for beings you have never met. That's what makes us human, Han replied. We protect each other. All of each other. The human ships jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward another distress call. Behind them, the captured Vrak ships were secured and ready to be turned over to whatever passed for galactic law enforcement. Dr. Yoon continued her medical examinations during the journey. Captain, she reported, I'm learning fascinating things about galactic biology. Most of these species evolved without significant predation. They're incredibly advanced in some ways, but completely unprepared for violence. What does that mean for us? Lee asked. It means we're unique, not just because we can fight, but because we choose to fight only to protect others. Most predator species in the galaxy appear to be raiders like the Vrak. They use violence for selfish gain. Veltar overheard this conversation. Dr. Yoon, you say humans choose to fight only to protect others. Is this really true? Not always, Dr. Yoon admitted. Humans have fought each other many times throughout our history. But we've also learned that our greatest strength comes from protecting those who need help. Remarkable, Veltar said quietly. A species that learned to turn aggression into protection. No wonder you were able to defeat the Vrak so easily. As they approached the next battle, Lee reflected on what they had learned. The galaxy was full of peaceful, advanced civilizations that had achieved something humans were still working toward, an end to violence. But their very success had made them vulnerable to the few species that remained predators. Captain, Park Sora announced, we're approaching the distress signal. It's a Granthi trading vessel under attack by something called the Razor Clan. On the main screen, they could see another scene of raiders attacking a peaceful ship. But this time Lee noticed something different. The traders weren't just waiting to be rescued. They were sending out coordinate data, technical specifications, and tactical information. They're helping us, Lee realized. They're giving us everything we need to plan our attack. Veltar smiled. Word spreads quickly in our communication networks. Every peaceful ship in the galaxy now knows that the humans will come if they call for help. And they want to make sure you succeed. Lee looked at the tactical display showing the new raider ships. They were different from the Vrak, but they had made the same mistake. They were used to hunting prey that couldn't fight back. All ships, Lee announced to his fleet, Let's show these raiders what happens when you pick on our neighbors. 3 months after the first rescue, the galaxy had changed completely. Admiral Song Yun-hae arrived at the Kepler 442 system with 12 more human ships and Earth's first official diplomatic mission. Lee met her aboard the new flagship New Seoul, feeling both proud and overwhelmed by what had happened. "Captain Lee," Admiral Song said as they reviewed the reports, "you've started something big. Every peaceful species in this sector is asking for human protection. Earth Command is calling it the most important event in human history. I just responded to a distress call," Lee said. "Any captain would have done the same." "Would they?" Admiral Song smiled. "Because according to these reports, no one in galactic history ever has." The numbers were staggering. In 3 months, human ships had responded to over 200 distress calls. 14 different raider clans had been defeated or scattered. Thousands of peaceful aliens had been rescued, and not a single human life had been lost in combat. Dr. Yoon had been busy studying representatives from 43 different species. Her medical bay had become a center for xenobiological research that was revolutionizing both human and galactic understanding of life itself. "Admiral," Dr. Yoon reported, "these species are incredibly diverse, but they all share one thing. They evolved without significant predation. Some are hive minds, some are energy beings, some are aquatic creatures that never developed individual consciousness as we understand it, but all of them achieved intelligence through cooperation rather than competition." "What about the raiders?" Admiral Song asked. "The opposite. Every raider species we've encountered evolved as apex predators on resource-limited worlds. They learned to take what they needed by force, but they never developed the cooperation skills necessary for advanced civilization." Ambassador Thranaya, a senior Nefri diplomat, joined the meeting. She had become Earth's primary contact with what they were learning was called the Galactic Cooperative Council. "Admiral Song," Thranaya said in her gentle voice, "I bring greetings from the Council of Peaceful Worlds. They are eager to meet with your people and discuss formal agreements." "What kind of agreements?" Admiral Song asked. "Protection accords, trade partnerships, technology sharing. The peaceful species have resources and knowledge that could benefit humanity greatly. In return, they hope for continued protection from raiders." Lee found this idea troubling. "We're not mercenaries. We don't rescue people for payment." "Which is exactly why the Council trusts you," Thranaya explained. "Every species that has ever offered protection demanded tribute or territory in return. Humans are the first to help simply because help was needed." Chief Engineer Kim Tae-wan had been working with alien engineers from a dozen species. "Admiral, you should see what we're learning. The Granthi have energy systems twice as efficient as ours. The Morphic Collective has materials that can self-repair. The Spiral Dancers have FTL communication that works instantly across any distance. And they're willing to share this technology?" Admiral Song asked. "More than willing. They're excited to share it. Most of these species have been isolated for centuries because travel was too dangerous. Now that the trade routes are safe, they want to work together again." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Park Sora. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority signal from the Outer Rim. It's from a species we haven't encountered before." The main screen showed a reptilian alien, but one very different from the Vrak. This creature had intelligent eyes and spoke with careful dignity. "I am Captain Nexthor of the former Vrak Raider clan Blood Moon," the alien said. "I request permission to speak with human commanders about surrender terms." Lee felt surprised. In all their encounters with raiders, none had ever asked to surrender. They usually fought until they were captured or fled the system entirely. "This is Admiral Song of the Terran Defense Coalition," Admiral Song replied. "What are your terms?" "No terms," Nexthor said. "We surrender unconditionally. My clan wishes to renounce raiding and requests instruction in peaceful trade." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Yoon checked her readings. "Admiral, his stress levels suggest he's telling the truth. He's genuinely afraid but also hopeful." "Why the change of heart?" Admiral Song asked. Nexthor's image shifted slightly. "Because, Admiral, my clan has learned what happens to raiders who prey upon human-protected ships. 14 clans have been destroyed or scattered. The survivors speak of human warriors who fight with precision and coordination that cannot be defeated." "So you're surrendering out of fear?" "Partially," Nexthor admitted, "but also because we have learned something we never knew existed, the concept of justice. Humans do not simply destroy raiders. You capture them, treat their wounded, and offer them choices. Several of my former colleagues are now working with peaceful species, learning to build rather than steal. Ambassador Threnaya looked amazed. A Vrak asking for redemption? This is unprecedented. Admiral Song made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Captain Nexthor, you may approach under flag of truce. We will discuss terms for your clan's integration into peaceful society. 3 days later, representatives from 57 different species gathered aboard the New Soul for what became known as the First Galactic Defense Conference. The meeting room had to be specially modified to accommodate aquatic beings, energy creatures, and species with radically different environmental needs. Elder Sith Moran, an ancient being who had overseen galactic diplomacy for over 1,000 years, spoke first. In all my years, I have never seen such rapid change. The raider threat that has plagued us for centuries is ending. And it is ending not through negotiation or tribute, but through the simple principle that evil actions have consequences. Captain Cho Sung-min, newly promoted to lead the Galactic Defense Initiative, presented the formal proposal. We suggest a coordinated defense network. Human military advisors working with peaceful species to create rapid response teams, shared communication systems to ensure no distress call goes unanswered, and rehabilitation programs for raiders who choose to abandon their predatory ways. The proposal was revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, the peaceful species would have an active defense against aggression rather than simply hoping to avoid it. Mordain, a brilliant Nefri engineer, raised a technical concern. The logistics of such a system would be enormous, coordinating between species with completely different technologies, communication methods, and biological needs. That's where human experience helps, Kim Taewon explained. Earth taught us to adapt quickly and work with limited resources. We're used to making different systems work together. Over the following weeks, the conference developed the framework for a new galactic order. Human ships would patrol the major trade routes, but each system would also have local defense coordinators trained in human tactical methods. The peaceful species would contribute their advanced technologies and vast knowledge, while humans provided protection and military expertise. The most surprising development came from the reformed raiders. Captain Nexthor and several other former Vrak had proven surprisingly valuable as advisors, helping human commanders understand raider tactics and psychology. We know where every raider base is hidden, Nexthor explained during one briefing. We know their supply lines, their communication codes, their weaknesses. Give us a chance to redeem ourselves by helping you stop them. Dr. Yoon's research had revealed why this redemption was possible. The predator species aren't inherently evil, she explained. They learned violence as a survival strategy, but given better alternatives, many can choose cooperation instead. As the conference concluded, Lee found himself promoted to admiral and placed in command of the new Galactic Defense Fleet. The indomitable spirit would lead a force of over 200 ships, including vessels from a dozen different species all working together. Admiral Lee, Elder Sith Moran said during the closing ceremony, "You have accomplished something we thought impossible. You have brought justice to the galaxy." Lee looked out at the diverse gathering of beings all committed to protecting each other from those who would do harm. Elder Sith Moran, we've only just begun. There are still raiders out there, still people who need help. Yes, the ancient being replied, but now, for the first time in galactic history, they know that help will come. The conference ended with the signing of the Galactic Defense Accords. Every peaceful species committed to supporting the defense network. Every reformed raider clan pledged to uphold peaceful trade. And humanity accepted the responsibility of ensuring that no distress call would ever go unanswered again. As the various alien representatives departed for their homeworlds, they carried with them something the galaxy had never known: the certainty that the strong would protect the weak, and that evil actions would face swift consequences. The age of uncontested raiding was over. The age of galactic justice had begun. 1 year later, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the new flagship Unity's Dawn, watching the first galactic defense exercise unfold across his tactical displays. 47 different species were working together in a coordinated defense simulation, and it was beautiful to watch. "All units report ready," Captain Cho Sung-min announced from the Exercise Command Center. "Beginning simulated raider attack in 3, 2, 1. The exercise was designed to test everything they had built, A mock raider fleet controlled by reformed Vrak captains like Nexthor would attack a simulated trading convoy. The defense forces had to coordinate between species with completely different technologies, communication methods, and tactical approaches. Simulated raiders incoming, reported Commander Park Sora, now serving as the fleet's chief communications coordinator. Multiple attack vectors using classic raider dispersal patterns. Lee watched as the defense unfolded exactly as they had hoped. Aquatic Granthi ships provided early warning with their incredible sensor arrays. Silicon-based crystalline entities coordinated communications across impossible distances. Fast Nefri vessels evacuated civilians while heavily armored human ships engaged the attackers directly. "Contact," announced the Morphic Collective representative, its voice flowing like liquid music. Human vessels engaging primary threat. Nefri evacuation ships clear of danger zone. Granthi sensors tracking all enemy movements. The mock battle lasted 37 minutes. When it ended, every simulated civilian had been evacuated safely. Every mock raider ship had been disabled or captured, and not a single defending vessel had taken critical damage. "Exercise complete," Captain Cho announced. "All objectives achieved with 0 casualties." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, a sound that mixed human voices with the harmonic tones of a dozen different species. They had done it. They had created the galaxy's first truly effective defense network. Dr. Yoon Mi-kyung, now head of the Galactic Medical Consortium, reported the most important statistic. "Admiral, it's been 8 months since the last successful raider attack anywhere in our protected space. The remaining raider clans have either surrendered, fled to distant systems, or been captured. The success was beyond anything they had hoped for. Trade between peaceful species had increased by 400%. Scientific cooperation had led to breakthroughs in energy production, medical treatment, and space travel. Most importantly, an entire generation of young aliens was growing up in a galaxy where they didn't have to fear raiders." "Admiral Lee," came a familiar voice. "Permission to come aboard?" Lee smiled as Captain Veltar entered the bridge. The Nefri captain now commanded the new Gentle Current, a ship that combined traditional Nefri elegance with human defensive systems. More importantly, he served as the Galactic Cooperative Council's liaison to the defense fleet. "Captain Veltar," Lee said warmly, "how are the new trade routes working?" "Beyond our greatest hopes," Veltar replied. "The Spiral Dancers have established peaceful contact with 3 species that were previously isolated by raiders. The Granthi are sharing their energy technology with 17 different civilizations, and the former Vrak colonies are reporting their first successful harvests in decades." The last point was particularly important. Many of the reformed raider clans had come from worlds where resources were scarce. With access to peaceful trade and advanced agricultural techniques from other species, they were learning to feed their people without stealing from others. Engineer Kellen, now a senior technical advisor to the defense fleet, joined the conversation. "Admiral, the integrated technology projects are exceeding all projections. The new communication system allows instant contact across the entire galaxy. The combined FTL drives are twice as fast as anything humans or aliens had separately." "What about the rehabilitation programs?" Lee asked. "Remarkable success," Dr. Yoon reported. 73% of former raiders have successfully integrated into peaceful occupations. Many are now serving as security advisors or technical specialists. Captain Nexthor has become one of our most valuable tactical instructors. As if summoned by his name, Nexthor appeared on the communication screen from his training facility. The former Vrak raider had transformed completely, wearing the uniform of the Galactic Defense Corps and speaking with the authority of someone who had found his true purpose. "Admiral Lee," Nexthor said, "I have news from the Outer Rim. The Savage Claw clan, one of the last major raider groups, has sent a surrender message. They cite the futility of continued raiding and request integration assistance. That's the 18th clan to surrender this year," Lee noted. "How many are left?" "By our estimates, perhaps 3 or 4 small groups in the furthest systems, and they appear to be more interested in fleeing than fighting." The transformation was staggering. 2 years ago, 20 major raider clans had terrorized the galaxy with impunity. Now most had been reformed and the rest were in full retreat. "There's something else," Veltar said quietly. "The Council has received a message from the far Spiral Arm. Another group of peaceful species, requesting contact with the humans who have brought justice to the galaxy." Lee felt a familiar mix of pride and responsibility. "How far?" 6 months journey at maximum speed. They report similar problems with raiders in their region, but they've also heard rumors of something else. Intelligent machines that have achieved consciousness and are seeking peaceful coexistence with biological life. The bridge fell silent as everyone considered the implications. First contact with artificial intelligence was a possibility humans had long considered, but it had remained theoretical until now. The galaxy keeps getting bigger, Lee said finally, and apparently we're not the only ones looking for friends instead of fights. Master Sergeant Oh Hyun-sik, now commanding general of the Marine Corps' Alien Integration Division, raised a practical concern. Admiral, we're already stretched thin covering our current territory. Can we really expand our protection that far? We don't have to, Captain Cho pointed out. That's the beauty of what we've built. We've taught other species how to defend themselves. The Nefri now have 3 armed escort fleets. The Granthi have developed weapons based on their sensor technology. Even the Morphic Collective has created defensive protocols. It was true. The most successful aspect of the Galactic Defense Initiative hadn't been human ships patrolling everywhere, but rather the teaching and coordination that allowed peaceful species to protect themselves. The real victory, Dr. Yoon observed, is that we've changed the fundamental rules of the galaxy. Before, raiders could attack anyone with confidence that their victims couldn't fight back. Now every peaceful ship knows that help is available, and every potential raider knows that aggression will be met with overwhelming response. Private First Class Han Min-jun, now a sergeant training alien security forces, added his perspective through the communication system. The young aliens I'm working with don't think like victims anymore. They're learning that they have the right to defend themselves and others. That changes everything. Lee looked at the tactical display showing the current status of the galaxy. Green markers indicated peaceful trade routes protected by the defense fleet. Blue markers showed species that had developed their own defensive capabilities. Yellow markers indicated former raider territories that were now peaceful colonies. Red markers indicating active raider threats had dwindled to less than 5% of the map. Status report on the deep space monitoring stations? Lee asked. All operational, Kim Tae-won reported. The network now covers 87% of known space. Any distress signal will be detected and responded to within 6 hours maximum. Rehabilitation facilities? Running at 30% capacity, Dr. Yoon answered. Most former raiders have completed their programs and moved on to productive lives. We're actually converting some facilities to research centers for xenobiology and cultural exchange. The biggest change was in the attitudes of the peaceful species themselves, where once they had lived in constant fear, accepting raider attacks as an unavoidable part of life. They now traveled freely and traded openly. Young aliens grew up expecting safety and justice rather than hoping to merely survive. Admiral, Veltar said softly, I want to share something with you. Yesterday, my young nephew asked me what the time before humans was like. I realized that to his generation, a galaxy without protection, without justice, without the knowledge that help will come when called for, is unimaginable. Lee felt the weight of that responsibility. An entire generation of peaceful aliens was growing up in a universe where they expected the strong to protect the weak. That was a promise humanity would have to keep for as long as they existed. Signal from the outer rim, Park Sora announced. It's the gentle current from Veltar's home system. They're reporting successful contact with a new species called the Luminous. Herbivorous, highly intelligent, and currently under attack by something called the Iron Fist Raiders. Lee didn't hesitate. Set course for their position. Maximum speed in all ships? Captain Cho asked. Full fleet response, Lee confirmed. Let's show these Iron Fist Raiders and the Luminous what the galaxy has become. As the Unity's Dawn and its escort fleet jumped,